obviously yesterday we spoke about this Pierre in Scottsdale, and I had mentioned that he had a partner. Pierre Falcone had a partner named Arkady Gaydamak. Didn't expect that to be relevant to anything, but they were both involved in Angola Gate, which was global trafficking at the highest levels of government. But this Arkady Gaydamak didn't show up for his court hearing, and he just was sentenced in absence for trafficking weapons, et cetera, et cetera. I explained to you that he was born in Russia, and then when Israel became a nation, he was first over there. He was also factually, and you can see in this article, a French intelligence agent. Okay. Why am I bringing up Gaydamak? Well, after yesterday's episode, I had asked if anybody had anything or knew anything about, Turning Point potentially working with this Pierre person. I was shocked when a flutter of emails came in from people saying that they believed Gaydamak was living in Nashville, that he moved here sometime in June. Okay. And when I say a flurry of emails that came in, there were 7 people, mostly men, who were certain that that man, aged now, is working in Nashville using the name Jonathan Schmidt. They are certain, at the very least, that he is from Israel and that he is working for a company known as Root Brands under the guise of being a technology officer, and that he has brought in and secured jobs for Ukrainians. And again, this has all transpired since apparently June. Ukrainians who he alleges are running from the war. They say he was brought in by a businessman in town named Clay Thomas, and that one of the Ukrainians that is working with him, his name is Alex Smirnov. Now, I don't know what to say other than I am positively terrified. I don't know who to contact, considering the feds. I've been telling them that there's an assassination attempt in coordination. I have said Israel, I have said France, and now I have dealt with, I have these emails, more credible information. And if it's incorrect, I'm happy to correct it. I reached out to Clay Thomas. I have reached out to Root Brands, and I have requested more information about this Russian Israeli employee who is using the name Jonathan Schmidt and bringing in Ukrainians. And so instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to publicize this information in the hope that if you are a Tennessean and you live in Franklin and you live in Nashville and you are familiar with Root Brands and you have seen this man, and Skylar, I don't know if we have an aged photo of him, but we should try to find one. Please, first off, you should probably contact the authorities. I certainly will be doing that. I think my husband has already done that. I told him to do that this morning. I have definitively run that to the only office that has responded, and I think taken my threat, or has wanted to respond, I should say, to the threat that I've been saying about the French intelligence agencies working with Israel. And that is Tulsi Gabbard's office. I am doing everything that I can, but I am telling you that this is very scary. And if you are in Tennessee, anything, if you know this Jonathan Schmidt and you've seen him around town, if you're a real estate agent, they said he was shopping for a home in the Brentwood area. If you have seen this individual anywhere in Nashville, for the love of God, please send us an email, moretips@CandaceOwens.com. And I am encouraging you to contact your authorities if you are hearing any sob stories from anyone about how they're coming in from Ukraine and that they're fleeing the war. Okay. I think you should contact the authorities immediately. We don't need to have a presence of Ukrainians that are quote unquote fleeing the war in Tennessee. And, I trust the Tennesseans to get this done and to pay attention. And I want to say this, by the way, everywhere in America, I've heard there's a major influx of Ukrainians, quote unquote, fleeing that are building up in Washington. That is something to be worried about, you guys. That is something to be very concerned about, okay? Because it is during wars where the most dangerous people are allowed into other countries under the guise of being refugees. That is how they take over other countries. And you need to keep your eyes and your ears peeled for how these Ukrainian, quote unquote, refugees are organizing. I don't think there's a reason for any any Israeli intelligence and French intelligence officers to be here in Nashville. So again, if you know something, please email us, moretips@CandaceOwens.com. If you work for the local FBI department, you should have been hearing from us, but if you would like to directly contact us, please email us. We will be looking out. And like I said, Root Brands apparently is who has hired this individual under the guise of working under a technology officer. He's supposed to be a billionaire, so why would he be working at all if this is the correct individual? I'm not buying the name Jonathan Schmidt. I will say that for an Israeli who should be living in Tel Aviv. And I do not believe he's legally allowed to be in this country. So at the very least, perhaps also if you're watching this and you are an ICE agent or a Border Patrol agent, please get involved. I will have more for you hopefully in the coming days. But this is very scary.